Welcome to the 5-Year You podcast, a show dedicated to helping you become the best version of yourself one day at a time. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Kat, and we promise to keep it raw, real, and relatable.
Are you ready to grow? Hey, 5 Tribe. This episode is following our last episode about starting over. And this one's called Why Starting Over Feels So Scary. It's all about what keeps you stuck from moving on and what it's really costing you. I'm Andrew, and with me always is Kat. How you doing today, Kat?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I love this topic. I got to say, I'm really got strong feels for this one.
You got the feels? All right. Well, that
I
means it's going to
do.
be a good one.
Yeah. I just think it's so important because so many of us think about changing, but we're stuck and we kind of go through that mental debate. And I mean, it feels scary and you get all that internal dialogue. At least I hope everybody else in the world has that internal dialogue. I'd be really shocked to find out it's just me. But everyone else is like, no, I've never had an inner thought. Oh, wow. Okay. But I think what we're talking about is like you get that call to change, like we talked about last episode. And then this one you go, okay, and you get that gut kind of tense moment where you're like, I don't know about this now.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's totally normal. And I think that's a big thing that we want to share in this episode is that feeling of feeling stuck and wanting to change, but not knowing how and worried about the consequences is a very human experience. And fear doesn't mean that you're not ready to make a change. It's actually, right, baked into our biology to stay safe and kind of stay the same. That's how our species survives, by that instinct.
Yeah, it really is. And it's such a good thing. It's so liberating to know that, where it's that fear isn't the thing saying stop. It's like a post-it note that's like, remember, there's things that can happen. I think it's really important when we start developing all these internal processes for ourselves is to maybe just get that handle on fear and what it is, because I think most of us misunderstand fear. And I know I sure did before we got into all of this type of work.
Yeah, I think fear is a protection mechanism, not an obstruction. I think in the past, when we were evolving as a species, it was something to like stop you from going after a lion or stopping you from leaving the group because your survival hinged on you being a part of a community and a group. That's not necessarily the case now. So your fear it's just trying to protect you the way your body is built. Your brain is designed to go towards what's familiar and what's safe. And even people who are dissatisfied with their life don't often make a change because even if they're upset with it, like the life that they maybe don't enjoy as much as they should is what they know. And so it is very common to sort of stick with it because the uncertainty is more worrisome than the dissatisfaction.
It's so true. No, it's the devil you know versus the one you don't. And that will keep you in a career that you don't love, but pays enough. It will keep you in relationships that, aren't happy with, but you don't know what it would be like to be alone. So you don't want to risk that. It keeps you from speaking up with your friends because you don't want to get ostracized for your thoughts. This fear is very, very primitive. It's been around for a lot longer than we probably give it credit for. And when you can stop to see fear as a guardrail rather than a stop sign, that is when you can start to make progress towards it. But I think most of us are like, oh, I have a fear about this, so I shouldn't do it. And I know that was kind of what I used to feel with fear is like, it's a stop sign, but it's not. It's just it's a cautionary, a flashing light that just goes, hey, just be aware of this, but don't stop. Don't not do it. Just be aware.
Yeah, we talk a lot about having awareness. In fact, most of our episodes when we're talking about the steps people can take, pretty much 9 times out of 10, the first step is going to be awareness. And so we love the concept of being the curious observer, right? So when you feel that spike of fear or you feel, I can't do that, or I can't leave this job, or I can't break up with this person because what will all this happen? If you can get outside of yourself enough to be the curious observer of your own brain and say, look at that. That's the fear popping up. So you can reflect and ask yourself, what do you think you're protecting by staying where you are? What do you think that that's going to do for you? And by stepping back and reflecting and going through these questions and working through your answers, you might realize that you're not afraid because you can't handle the change. You're not afraid because you're not capable of making a change. You're afraid because you can and you have no idea what it's going to look like, and that's terrifying.
I'm just going to let that sink in for a second because that is so good. It's so true. I mean, yeah, we're not afraid of staying still or keeping the same. We're afraid because we might be great. And what does that mean if we are? And that call to change, I mean, it's so amazing. But at the same time, that fear pops up as a protective mechanism. And like we said in the last episode, most people, when they have this calling, not everybody gets this calling. Not everybody will feel this way. But when you do, it's because part of you knows you can. And that old part of you is going, "Oh, let's just stay on the couch tonight. Let's not try running. Let's not try getting healthy. Let's not try that new business, that new idea. Let's just stay still." Remember staying still? You like that. You've been doing that. And that it is. It's so comfortable, but all growth happens outside of our comfort zone. That's just the reality of it. But that fear is designed to keep us from getting hurt, and it will always be there. And you and I have it. Everyone on the planet has it. The richest person on earth has it. And they've just learned to push past it. They just learned to understand that this is a guardrail, not a stop sign. I just need to be aware that this exists, but it's not going to be the thing that stops me.
Yeah, I love that, and that makes sense. I think that our listeners could benefit from thinking of the idea of fear and then kind of taking it one step deeper and trying to figure out what it is exactly, like putting their finger on what it is that scares them. Because you think it's like, oh, I don't want to move, or I don't know, it's going to be hard to find a job. But the fear is usually coming from something way deeper within. For example, you might not realize it, but you might be afraid of like losing who you are, losing your identity. You might ask yourself, like, who am I if I'm not this version of me anymore? People worry, like, will I still have the same family members? Will my friends still want to be around me if I become a different version of myself? And a lot of people sort of maybe cling to different narratives or I don't want to say a victim mentality, but there's certain situations and thought patterns that have served them in the past that maybe they're just not sure what would happen if they let them go and adopted new ones. And so often it's so much more than like, I don't know how I'm going to get a different job. It's more like, what does that mean about who I am as a human being? And that's where the real fear is.
Yeah, identity loss is a really big one for most people. It's, well, if I'm the dependable one and I do this and I go start this new business, I won't be able to be there as much as I have in the past. So I'm not going to be as dependable as I used to be, or I might not be the partner, the dad, the coworker that I used to be. The next one that comes up is the sunk cost fear. And as an accountant, we talk a lot about the sunk costs. I won't get into that stuff because we want to stay awake in this show. But the sunk cost fallacy is that all the time I have put into this, all the money I have expended, all the resources, all the days, the years, the whatever I have put into this is a waste if I don't keep going with it. And that is utter malarkey. And I was going to say a different word and I just kind of edited myself and that was the best word I could come up with. Wow.
It's a
But
decent one, to be honest.
thank you. It's a good Scrabble word. Like your sunk cost fear is just it's going, I already put money into this education, so I need to get my money back out of this education, or I need to keep doing this because I've sunk so much into it. I've sunk so much time into this relationship. I've sunk so much time into this Netflix show. I've sunk so much time into these things that I have to keep going with it. And
Mm.
if you have ever, most of us are like, oh, that's a little hard to understand. If you've ever started a movie 20 minutes in, thought it sucked, and sat there for the other 2 hours, you have experienced sunk cost fear because you're going, oh, I just put 20 minutes in, I got to get the rest out. But think about what you're actually sacrificing is that other 2 hours. And that's the thing that we don't usually rationalize when we're thinking about this is the future cost. We just look at the past and go, I've wasted my time, my energy, my education. I've put so much time in this friendship and, I don't want to let it go. But what we're not going is thinking is like, wow, if I let this friendship go, that's really not serving me anymore, that frees up one day a week that I hang out with this person where I can actually enjoy the night rather than kind of grind my teeth through another experience like this. Wow, if I give myself permission to abandon the career that I've had for forever, but I hate, I might actually enjoy 8 hours of my day for the rest of my life rather than regret it every time I get up in the morning. These are the sunk costs that keep us stuck. We need to shift our thinking.
I love that. In fact, I wish I knew where this proverb was from, but I recently read a proverb, and to summarize it, it said, if you got on the wrong train, the best thing to do is to get off at the next station. Right? If you're on the train, you're on the journey and you're going, you don't just stay on the train and keep going in the wrong direction. You get off and you try to find the better train for you.
Yeah.
My dad has been really good about saying, like, no experience is wasted, no education is wasted. I remember my sister got her first job at McDonald's, and my dad was like, learn as much as you can from this. Like, this is a huge business. Like, look at how they're teaching their employees, look at how to interact with people, look at things you might not want to do. And so I've sort of carried that with me. And so a lot of people, they're worried to change careers because they feel like, oh, well, I went to school and I like was an engineer and I don't want to be a like nurse. I don't want to waste all that engineering time, but I feel called to this. No experience is wasted. We are all a summation of all of our relationships and jobs and schooling and trips and everything. It makes us who we are. And you'll be surprised when different skill sets pop up in your everyday life. Like, yeah, if you switch to nursing, you're not an engineer anymore. But like when you renovate your kitchen, you're going to be a real asset to figure out where everything's going and making it nice, organized, and make sense. None of it is wasted.
Not at all. I love that. It's so true. I would love to have a nurse that was previously an engineer. They probably would be able to diagnose my problem differently than,
Yeah.
the mainstream. I think when we're talking about that, it's like we're crossing the river of change, right? We talk about this sometimes, and we kind of look at the stones that we go on as like, okay, now I'm the engineer and now I'm going to step onto the nursing rock in this example. We don't try to pick up the engineering rock with us to get on to the next step. We just accept that we have to move past that step, but that step was still a part of us, and we got the experience of being on that rock before we go to the next rock as we make our way across this river of change. It's a very important distinction because I think all of us are trying to carry every rock that we've ever had, and like these are my rocks and this is who I am. It's like, no, it's still part of who you are. It's just you're going to evolve into something else, and you get to embrace that and move forward with it.
Yeah, I love that. Another thing, in addition to the sunk costs fallacy and worrying about loss of identity, is just that good old human thing of like, what will everybody think? What will everybody say? Are people going to be talking about me behind my back? Are my parents going to be disappointed in me? That's probably the hardest one out of all of these. Like, forget losing your own identity. What will everyone say? It's hard, and honestly, I think this is a huge thing that holds people back, especially in certain cultures and communities where there's all these expectations of like what you have to be and what it means to be a successful person. To choose outside of that path or to do something different can often be met with judgment and confusion and disappointment. And part of this journey is having the courage to know within your heart that you're making the right steps for you. And if other people can't support you in your decisions, even if they don't understand it, if they can't just be a good support for you, then maybe they're not supposed to be along the ride, or maybe they're not supposed to have a front seat to the journey.
Yeah. And this is where everybody goes through this one. It's very primitive. It's getting kicked out of the cave. It's being ostracized for whatever choices you like. This sense of belonging is not something you shed. It is something you just bring awareness to. When we work with our coaching clients, one of the things that that we find that we're the rock for them is being that person that gives them social approval, which is something that they need. We all need it when we're starting something new because it feels very alone and it can be very challenging. So having a coach or a trusted advisor in your corner that will encourage you to move forward and only wants the best for you, not because, your best might make me look bad, is kind of a lot of times what that social thing is, right? It's like people are don't want you to climb out of the bucket. I think it's the crab theory. When a crab starts to get out of the bucket, the rest of the crabs pull them back down into the bucket. It's just,
Interesting.
it really is. It's fascinating. The next one that starting over can feel terrifying is the competency reset. And this is all about having to be a beginner again. And it's really hard because it kind of checks your ego
Yeah.
pretty badly. I'll give one for myself. I am trying to start our YouTube channel and do videos every week outside of this podcast. And I am having to learn everything about everything. And I have to accept that I am going to be terrible at this in the beginning because every master was once a disaster and every disaster has to start.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to go done is better than perfect and just keep moving on with it. That is something that's really humbling for most of us. Is like, I don't want to
Yeah.
look foolish. I don't want to not know. I've been the expert in this house, in this job, in this friend group. Can't imagine moving to a new friend group where I don't know anything about chess
Yeah.
and now I've got to learn it all. But that's kind of, to me, that's also always been kind of fun is that first,
Yeah.
that newness of it. But it does keep us held back for sure.
Yeah, and I think anyone who maybe feels that way or kind of feels that ego sting of being the beginner again, I think reframing it as fun is good. It would be like me trying to play sports. Like I would just have to laugh at myself and be like, of course, I'm like leaping across the tennis court or whatever. And I would just have to be fun because I know it's not going to go well at first, having never played sports in my life. And I think just adopting a different attitude and realizing that it's really good for your brain to try new things. Your brain doing the same job at the same place, going back to the same house is very repetitive. Your brain doesn't have to work super hard. But as we get older in age, giving your brain new problems to work on, new things to figure out is actually like, super healthy.
It is. It really is. But again, it's like getting past that little bit of humility in the beginning and allowing yourself to be a baby again. And like, I'm gonna have to learn how to crawl, and then I'm gonna learn how to walk and run. It can be hard, but it's fun. I mean, like, look at all you got from learning how to crawl, walk, and run in your real life. Like it's
Right?
awesome.
It's legit putting 2 feet on the ground and getting places.
I enjoy it. The last one is the illusion of safety. And this one kind of stings. This one, yeah, when we were talking about this, it really hit me. It's like familiar pain feels safer than unknown possibility. I'll repeat that again. Familiar pain feels safer than unknown possibility. We would much rather stay put where we're in discomfort than leave the discomfort for what could possibly be more discomfort. We just don't know what we're getting, but we could also have massive success with this. That illusion of leaving your safety zone is really threatening to a lot of people in the beginning.
Yeah, I love that we circled back on that because it will help people to understand that it's not supposed to feel super easy and great, but that's okay. So we've listed all the reasons why people might be stuck or might be holding themselves back or not quite willing to make a change. So let's talk about what happens if you make the choice to kind of stay where you are because it's comfortable. And again, it's your life, you get to choose, but you should know that there's also consequences to our decisions either way, benefits and drawbacks to each
Sure.
decision. So here are some of the costs to staying stuck. And the first one I would say is just for me, this was what would drive me the craziest, but everyone's different, is just that constant discomfort, like internally, knowing that I'm making a choice that might not be in my best interest, but like can't quite make the change in that moment. Like to me, there's going to be some discomfort and friction and tension within myself if I just keep choosing to do the same thing every day.
Yeah, I get that. I think most of us go through that. For me, the first one, that cost of staying stuck is the confidence. It's just knowing that you're not trusting yourself to go for the thing that you actually want. It can be really, really harmful. And it kind of rubs up with the one that you're saying right now too, where it's just you want to it's like it's like you're doing a disservice to your soul and you know it, but
Mhm.
that fear is keeping you stuck.
Yeah, and I want to point out that regardless of what you choose, like time is going to pass at the same rate anyway. Whether you decide to go back to school or decide to go like take that coding masterclass or whatever, or whether you decide to do something else, it's like we're all given the same amount of time and time flies, y'all. It really does. And
Yeah.
you could be giving up years of feeling very aligned and alive and joyful and within your purpose. And that would be a shame.
Yeah, I actually heard a great quote from a book that I don't even try to go like give the reference to because I never get it right. But
On brand.
it was
Go on.
it was a it was a lawyer who was I think it was like in her early fees, and
Mm.
she got this calling to go into healthcare and to be a nurse. And she said to someone, "It's like, well, if I go into a nurse, that's going to take me like 6 years and I'll be 50." And the person said, "In 6 years, you're going to be 50 regardless. Go do it. The time's passing. It's how you choose to do with it." So that's a really good point to bring up, Kat. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. I'm trying to think of any other ones, but I think those are really the main ones. Just the inner friction, kind of ignoring that inner voice. Over time, that kind of like dampens your ability to kind of feel joy or excitement because, like, the more you erode that self trust, the more it kind of like eats away at you. And then, of course,
Yeah.
the time is going to pass.
Yeah, it's a really good thing. It's a really good thing to be aware of. Like these are the costs of living a life that's not in alignment, and we really are big on being in alignment with the choices that are right for you. It's so important. So what's next,
All
Kat?
right. I think that it would be good to reassure people. I don't want to end on a negative note by listing all the drawbacks. So I want to reassure people that if you start over or if you make a huge change, it doesn't mean that you're erasing who you are. You're not going to lose who you were. You're just building on that person. You're just like adding to your experiences.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Lego, right? Like you're kind of your person Lego, and then you just keep adding little pieces on. That's how I've always looked at it. I know it's kind of silly, but it's just how I look at it. It's you're never taking pieces off in the way like you're not erasing yourself. You are just building on the character you've created and you're building into something much more beautiful. You're becoming more evolved and more of who you were always meant to be. And that's a nice gradual thing to happen. I want to, in case you haven't listened to the last episode, you should really go back and listen to it. But we talk a lot about this is a gradual process. This is not an overnight process. We never recommend blowing up your life. And we're going to talk about that next episode, how to do this without blowing up your life. But we want to make sure that you know, like, this is gradual. And this is kind of like step two of a longer evolution for yourself. So you can change directions without changing your worth. You are allowed to evolve at your own pace.
Yeah. So, I mean, consider this your permission. Like the first brave step you take doesn't have to be a massive action. You don't have to quit. You don't have to make a Facebook announcement about it. You don't have to decide anything right now. All you have to do is give yourself that quiet little assurance and permission to be curious. That's it. Allow yourself to have the desire to imagine a life that is different from the one you have now. That's it. That's step one. And simmer on that and soak in it for a while and dream and imagine what that might be like. And you might be surprised what you come up with.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I did, and I know you did it too, is just kind of creating that vision of what it might look like if it happened in the best possible way. And that kind of quells the fear a little bit, right? You're able to kind of steer your brain in a different direction and just reflect on it. Give yourself permission today, this week, this month, however long it takes to just reflect on what that change might mean and what are the positives of it. Your brain's going to do all the negative stuff. You're good at doing that. Most of us have that ability baked in. But give yourself permission to just think about the first step and what it could look like and why you might be called to it. You're going to be surprised with the answers that come back.
I love that. So, I guess, like a very quick recap is that if you feel fear about making a different choice about your life, it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Fear is just a guardrail, like Andrew said, almost called you our son's name. It is just a guardrail. It is not a stop sign. And if you're scared, it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You don't have to rush. You don't have to blow anything up. You can just right now imagine the possibilities. And like we said, we are going to talk more strategically in the next episode about how to let go of who you used to be without blowing up your life. So make sure you tune in next week as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great place to move on to our weekly glimmers, which, if you're new here, every week we share something personal that's been lighting us up. And Catherine, what is your glimmer this week?
It's a new year, and I've been very sparkly lately about a bunch of girly things. I gave myself permission to order some new makeup. Your mom gifted me some new makeup for Christmas. I got a new gel nail system. Like, I'm just feeling really good and glimmery and really taking the steps to treat myself nicely. Like a lot of moms who are busy and working and taking care of kids and all their 80 billion things, I can absolutely put myself last. So I've really been enjoying putting myself at least second the last week or so. It's pretty good. How about you?
I'm going to actually take a page out of your book and go with a thrifting find. Yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? Last week we were looking around and stuff. We found some really cool things, but I found something that I found a pair of Air Jordans and they were like $12 and they fit me. And I've always wanted a pair of these and I wasn't allowed to get them as a kid. We didn't have enough money at that point. And then I became an adult and I let the seriousness of adult life take a hold and not allow myself to get them. And I saw these and I'm like, they were in like mint condition. I'm like, wow, these are awesome. And so I got them and it feels really good. I haven't even worn them yet because it's been like kind of snowy and crummy outside. But I'm like, wow, I have Jordans. And the 12-year-old, 13-year-old Andrew is just like doing like high fives to everybody as he's walking around right now. He's just super pumped about it.
Yeah, if you're new to the show, this will not be the last time we mention a thrifting treasure in our glimmers. It's like kind of our things.
We love a good treasure hunt. So thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next time when we talk about how to shift your life, how to start over without burning your life down. Thanks again.
Hey guys, quick disclaimer. We're podcasters on the internet. If you need to seek professional help, please go see your healthcare professional.